Hello and welcome to the third in series of Future of Commodities. Today we are discussing primary market, the building blocks for derivative markets. While a lot has been done in primary market reforms and integration of various marketplaces, there is still need to work on linking mandis within a state and between states and also with the derivatives. To talk on the special subject, we are now today joined by Mr. R. Ramaseshan. He's advisor NCDEX. Joining us from Ahmedabad is Dr. Yogender K. Alag from IRMA. From Bangalore, we have with us Sri G.V.K. Rao, who's Additional Chief Secretary, Government of Karnataka. And we also have guests joining us from Delhi. Mr. Ashok Gulati is Chairman, CACP. We also have with us Mr. Pravesh Sharma, who's MD, SFAC. Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us with this special discussion today. Mr. Rao, hi, the first question really is to you. I mean, there is lots that has been happening in sense of the food prices, the emerging food scenario. How have you seen the crop, the weather, the globalization of all of it?
The food crops, over the years, our yields have improved, our productivity and production has improved, but handling the produce is becoming a challenge, largely, especially in the context of Indian context. Our production areas are all concentrated in one part of the country, and the consumption areas are at far off places. Handling the logistics is an issue, and that is something we will have to address.
Mr. Alag, while the produce, of course, has been on the higher side, the recent concerns have been on the high inflation that we have seen in the Indian markets. Lot of issues or a lot of fingers really has been pointed to the middleman because of that as well. What has been your reading on that subject?
Basically what is happening is that a lot of the trade takes place in smaller towns. If you look at Gujarat, which is a highly commercialized agriculture, we have a very large number of such census towns, and many of these places are not even towns, talk about mandis. So you are right, the infrastructure for price discovery is very inadequate in relationship to the needs that we are facing. And also we must remember that our statistical base, I just finished a report for the National Statistical Commission on agricultural statistics, and the statistical base for prices is low, is quite poor, and for price derivatives it's even worse.
Fair point. Mr. Ramaseshan, a view from you on that as well. Do you think agricultural marketing, cooperatives perhaps is the next best step that could come in?
As Dr. Alag said, it is possible for us to create the infrastructure where, irrespective of your location, you have the same price discovery process. And if we can borrow from what's happening in the derivative markets, create that kind of an electronic markets across the country, we would have achieved what we have to.
Pravesh, according to you, what are the challenges that the country is facing when it comes to agricultural marketing?
One of our first challenges is to identify suitable partners, and we work with more than 70 partner institutions across the country, which includes NGOs, it includes trusts, it includes societies, it also includes some private sector companies which are willing to come forward and initially build these collectives. The minute the collective is registered, you have the challenge of accessing equity capital, because individually they are not able to bring together huge amounts of equity, and B, accessing institutional finance, because without the working capital they are not going to be able to leverage their collective bargaining and productive power. In the last 1 year, the government has launched several initiatives, and I'm happy to say that the Planning Commission has supported this, the Ministry of Finance has supported this, and the most important of these is what is called the Equity Grant and Credit Guarantee Fund Scheme. So this is a unique window which has been created in SFAC, where any producer company which is registered can apply to us to double its member equity up to a maximum of 10 lakh rupees. So if the members have brought together 10 lakh rupees as equity, SFAC can provide a grant to double their equity to 20 lakhs. This then enables this collective to go to the bank or to any other market player and leverage further finance.
Dr. Gulati, of all the stages that commodity output goes on, from production to pricing to warehousing to marketing to trading to derivatives as well, where do you see the chain really getting most important?
Well, I would say whatever markets we have, first we need to get them working better. That's the first thing that we need, better infrastructure. So let's try to fix the regulated markets that are there, their infrastructure and their laws, because I think institutionally they have been, I would say, hijacked by some of the vested interests. So there is no free competition there. That's the objective of the markets. There has to be free competition. So the farmer should have the freedom to sell to anybody, whether going to APMC market, non-APMC market, any other player, foreign, and the consumers also should be able to buy it from anyone. So that's what we need at the bottom first.
All right, with that, let's go for the short break. While the middlemen are important, but the long, lengthy chain of intermediaries certainly is not. And perhaps cooperatives and integration of all of these markets is the way ahead. We will talk about all of that and more after this very short break. Welcome back. So as we have been discussing, the problems are many. It has to be inflation, MSP, and no integration between many of these markets. But then again, as we have been talking, it's public-private partnerships between the organizations and governments which really can be the thing going forward. Let's discuss that. Mr. Rao, coming back to you, there has been an instance in the recent couple of months where the intermediaries were taken off when it came to vegetables and fruits. Also, there is this talk of contract farming in India for the longest time. But what percentage do you see a rise of that coming?
In fact, intermediaries have not been taken off. What we have done was we removed the market cess to reduce a part of the burden on the price that is built up. While reducing the market cess, even that market cess itself is a very small amount. More than the market cess within the APMCs, there are other costs which get added as long as the fruits and vegetables are traded in the APMCs. So what we have done now is, in Karnataka, we have further amended the act, making it mandatory for all APMCs to earmark space for the farmers to sell the fruits and vegetables directly to the consumers. This was in continuation of the reforms we are carrying on, one after the other. And as far as the contract farming is concerned, though enabling provisions have been made as early as 2007 in the APMC Act, but no worthwhile contract farming arrangements have come to stay, at least as far as Karnataka is concerned. Now, again, coming back on the middlemen part, what I agree with Ram Seshan, middlemen are nothing but they are traders. Now, when the producers are scattered elsewhere and the consuming centers are largely in the towns and urban areas, somebody has to sell to the consumers. The traders are an essential part of the chain. We cannot wish them away. All that is needed is, over the years, we had created a situation, we had given them a lot of scope to be non-transparent and resort to practices which are not considered favorable to the farmers. Now, in the name of reforms, what we are trying to do is remove the scope as much as possible. Let there be fair play at all levels in the entire process of the transactions at the APMCs.
Yes.
If I can add to what Mr. G.V.K. Rao said, what is who an exploiter in one situation becomes the exploited. I mean, nice sounding jargon, but let me explain. A trader who is perceived to be an exploiter in the mandi, he gets in turn exploited with somebody sitting elsewhere. And we have instances where the trader who has purchased from the mandi sells it somewhere, and he also faces the same problem of recovering his money, and therefore he is exploited. So if we clean up the entire value chain, remove these exploitations, remove these vested interests, we would be doing a great service in this sector.
Yeah, I think it was supposed to be one level of that, but we have 3 layers of middlemen now, and some places it is even called a cartel. But Dr. Alak, this question really is to you. It's not just the middlemen which lead to some increase in prices. You also have to look at the restrictions that we have into these markets here. I mean, the policies which are frequently changed, the movement which is not free between states or even interstates at some times. Do you see further reforms needed here as well?
Can we set up newer mechanisms? Public-private partnerships, people who are into storages, co-ops, traders themselves, not regulation, but at least working together, because where there are thin markets, and I think in essence the forwards markets people have been making the point of thin markets. You don't want regulation which is very ham-handed. So where you have this problem of what I think what you're hinting at, which is intermediaries behaving in a kind of perverse manner, and I agree with the others. I mean, the intermediary is not a villain of a Hindi movie, but he or she may be a guy or a girl who's facing an inelastic demand curve, and like all monopolists will then try to take advantage. I mean, and the issue there is to create alternative channels. I think even some of the parastatals could perhaps, one could think of well-regulated interventions from them where you involve even the private sector, particularly the ones which are into things like commodity exchanges and so on and so forth. So we need newer mechanisms.
Mr. Rao, do you have a statement to make on that? And of course, as Dr. Alag is pointing out, while it's a big chunk but not the major chunk when it comes to the pricing.
No, certainly. I just wanted to take on where Dr. Alag left, saying that there are certain things to be done at the state level, not mere beyond regulation, involving the private sector, etc. That's what exactly we attempted doing. In fact, not merely came up with a policy statement in terms of Karnataka agriculture marketing policy recently, but following on, we amended the APMC Act, and to give effect to this policy, we have also partnered with the NSPOT and created an SPV, special purpose vehicle, titled Rashtriya E-Market Services, and it is based in Bangalore now. And the idea is we network all APMCs and created one single license for the traders all over the state. They don't have to take the license from each APMC, and they trade on this platform. And to that extent, our objective is to increase the competition at the marketplace. One of the reasons why they were able to form the cartels was there was no scope for competition. In the APMCs, basically these guys were the permanent residents of APMCs, and it was much easier to cartelize. That is one part. The second is to encourage the private sector to set up the private markets. We have removed the market cess on the private markets. That is also a recent intervention. And we are encouraging the direct purchase centers by the big players. And another thing, when it comes to the cooperatives, where we are wanting to rope in cooperatives is especially at the village level itself, because most of our cooperatives at the village level are focusing all these years in providing inputs to the farmers. Nothing has been done to handle the output of the farmers. Now the same cooperatives, in fact we have consulted large number of cooperatives. They are very eager to step into to handle the output of the farmers, and the local aggregation, cleaning, grading, packing, etc. These are the functions the cooperatives will handle at the village level. The warehousing, cooperatives, APMCs, and the private markets, as well as the spot market, the electronic spot market. Everything has been brought in as part of one holistic plan of action, and we have already launched this unified market platform. Just a few days ago, 3 markets have been brought on unified market platform. Of course, we have hurried, obviously, for the reasons well known to all of you, but we intend raising it to at least 25 markets during the coming 10-12 months.
Absolutely, Mr. Rao. That's a huge initiative that Karnataka government has taken, and you, of course, seem to be leading it all. Dr. Gulati would also want a sense on the frequently changing policies when it comes to the agricultural commodities, the export numbers, the import figures, also the restriction within states of moving of these agricultural produce.
I think the moment you put an export control, in theory and in practice, it acts like a tax on the farming community. So I am very much against putting an export ban. So we should ban the ban on exports. But if there are certain, times some spike in the international price or some untoward incident globally or domestically that happens, and you want to have a little restriction on exports, do it by imposing an export duty, and then after 2 months, 3 months, review that, where the situation is. The problem is that we put a ban on exports, as we did in 2007 for wheat and rice, and then we forget for 4 years. And that is what creates a bigger damage than just an export ban. So I would be against that export ban altogether.
As we have been talking, it is transparency, higher efficiency and online markets which really are the way forward. We will talk about all of that after this very short break. Welcome back. As our panelists have been talking about, that there have been lots of initiatives that have been taken by the exchanges, by the economists, and of course by the various governments as well. Transparency and efficiency. Let's look at those points now with our guests. Mr. Ramaseshan, this really is to you. The agricultural, the strengthening of the primary market really is the base, and that is how you will see everything else also building up. As we have been talking, even in the derivative markets, the settlement happens on the spot market. What is the kind of integration that you have seen? And as Mr. Rao was pointing out, what has been the tie-up and how strengthened has it made the derivative product as well?
The derivatives market are known for transparency, for electronic trading across the country, which are simply absent in the primary markets. So what we are aiming at this is to bring the same level of technology, same level of sophistication and price discovery in the primary markets. And once the price gets determined based on the quality in the primary market, it becomes easy for us to integrate the primary markets with the futures market. And the futures market settlement can ideally take place based on the actual trades of the primary markets which are available across the country. I mean, that is the building block which has to happen. But the problem is that Karnataka today is leading the way. There are many other states which are far, far behind. My problem is, when are the other states going to reach the same level? When are they going to realize that it's important to reform the primary market, not only to provide a proper price to the farmer, but also to create a national level market? A national level market does not seem to be in the horizon for any of the policy makers at the national level. My plea through the media right now is that why not we sit together and look at how do we create this national level market. That's where we are today.
Pravesh, while we are talking about the food integration, the prices, the policies, the MSPs and the inflation as well, food security also is a reality now. How would you look at the implementation for this year and the next few years when the policy is on?
The current scenario, though I don't work on the policy side in the ministry, but I can share with you that on the production front we are extremely comfortable even to meet the enhanced requirements of the food security legislation when it comes into full force over the course of the next couple of years. And we also believe that the farmer producer organizations that we are working with offer a great solution for long-term relationship even between agencies like the FCI, the Food Corporation of India, as a form of contract production where the minimum food security requirements of the country can actually be met, and we'll also have enough room for farmers to diversify into high value produce to make sure that their income is also protected. So I see absolutely no conflict between the demands of the food security legislation and the growth of the sector as a whole.
Dr. Alag, also this question is to you. If you have to see the mandis and the intermediaries, yet again distributors and other derivative markets also to come on the forefront, would you say that agri-marketing perhaps is the way to go then?
I think if we start right now, the National Statistical Commission report has said that you set up a task force and really get going next year. I think within a year, if we really mean business, we should be able to create price discovery mechanisms and also strengthen the so-called where the market is weak and in the sense that there are very few transactions taking place which lead to the lack of transparency kind of problem. The derivatives are a part of the package that some of these newer forms of institutions give to the farmer, including input advice, but particularly in things like price discovery mechanisms, how to reduce the uncertainty that the farmer has when he brings his stuff to the mandi, to the primary market or to the storage center. So I think there is progress in this direction, and it can't be a slow process, it will take time. I mean, it can't be a fast process. It will take time.
Dr. Gulati, would you say that the high MSP also has led to inflation in the prices, and what is your sense on the integration between the spot prices and these MSP numbers?
You know, when we do an MSP, remember that in 90% of the cases we are actually following the market. We are not leading the market as far as the MSP at the center is concerned. But certain states go ahead and whatever the considerations they have, they announce a bonus. Now temporarily it looks very good to the farmers, but what will happen? Everybody starts producing rice. Country doesn't need that much of rice, and you are encouraging rice cultivation. It will become a monoculture. There will be a problem in the production basket, and the bigger problem is at present, because you kill the private market altogether, it becomes a de facto nationalization of trade or at the state level, and you accumulate all those stocks which you don't know where to keep it, because domestic consumption isn't there that much. So I would say that if the state governments have to help the farmers, they should announce an investment subsidy on per hectare basis, which is crop neutral, rather than going for a bonus on rice or wheat or any other crop. These are already in surplus in the country, rice and wheat.
Mr. Rao, as you pointed out, there has been lots that you have taken under in Karnataka. That's the interstate thing. Are the other states, when it comes to state kind of integration coming in for the primary and the derivative markets, to putting it together, how fast do you see that happen?
This will happen very fast to my mind, because for example, again, if we start with Karnataka, we have enabled the traders from outside the state also to obtain license and participate on the unified market platform to bid for our produce. So once the traders from outside can participate in one state, there is no reason why they cannot participate in other states. I am sure people will catch up very fast. Within a year or two, there would be a much greater visibility of this networking and the spread of this concept of the online sales, online marketing at the primary level, with all the safeguards that are presently available for the secondary market being made available to the primary market, and bringing in the transparency and efficiency to the primary market level.
Dr. Gulati, there is as much that the government can do, and as our panelists have been talking about, they have been talking about the integration between the private and the public sector. How do you see the growth of that, and do you think that really is the future now?
Well, marketing, we have to integrate the country across space, that is all the states. That means we need to have free movement, but we also need to allow the private trade to freely trade the commodities and have some stocks. We have a lot of restrictions on them. That is one part of the story. But then the second thing is, we have to go and integrate the economy intertemporally on pricing, and that's where futures marketing comes. But I would say the warehouse receipt system, the negotiable receipts under a proper regulatory framework with a lot of storage capacity, and making the warehouse owner responsible for the grading and quality of the produce, and reporting every evening how much stock is there, so that the system is foolproof against any frauds. That's the system that we need to develop and scale it up, because the farmers will have a better choice to trade whenever they want, and they will get a better price for that.
All right, Mr. Damaseshan, one final question to you as well. When do you see the final step coming in when we talk about the mandis, the spot markets, the NCDEX and the derivatives also coming in together?
In my view, if let's say Andhra and Tamil Nadu follow a similar policy as Karnataka is, we should be able to at least have a first level of integration between the primary and the derivatives market in the next 12 to 18 months. And I think from the NCDEX, we would try to see if that is possible with whatever experiment Karnataka is doing.
So that is what is our guests giving us the time, 12 to 18 months, when you would see changes happening and integration coming in between the APMCs, the spot markets, the NCDEX, as well as the derivatives futures. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for joining us and giving us such a hoard of knowledge with all of that thoughts.